Back, WNST. To do this for a living, these 26 years in, is to have on guys that I have a lot of respect for and a lot of fun with over the course of time. I only have him on a couple times a year because he's the hardest working man in rock and roll and sports and show business. He is the holiday kid out on Twitter and the longtime voice of the Maryland Terps. I was going to tell him that I used to listen to him when I was a kid, but now that I'm 49 myself, Johnny Holiday, how the heck are you? I know you're all licking your Nationals and Natitude wounds down there, but we're with the Terps this week. But it's rough when you lose and you get knocked out. And certainly, I'm a Caps fan, so I'm familiar with that. I'm not much of a Nats fan, as you well know, but we're on the other side of the fence up here. But that's tough sledding because it's been a lot of good baseball played there with not much to show for it, right?
Yeah, first of all, nice to be with you, Nestor. Always a pleasure, believe me, always a pleasure. The thing about the Nationals is you work so hard to get to the playoffs, then you try and you beat your brains out to get past that first round. Then all of a sudden, the game that unraveled everything, the one game that you don't want to have a terrible game is the game that they had where they lost it last Thursday and it was all over. To have a season end like that, to have it come completely unraveled, is disappointing to everybody, the players, the manager, certainly the fans. And it's almost like the NCAA tournament where one team stands alone and everybody else is disappointed because they didn't win the national championship. Well, the same thing in baseball. You start in February. You start even before that because these guys maybe take a couple of weeks off, then you work over and over and over again to get the spring training. Then you go through spring training, all those games. So you're playing like 180-some-odd games by the time you get to the playoffs, including regular season. And then to have it come apart like that is very, very disappointing. But on the other hand, when you look at what Dusty did with a patchwork lineup all season long, I think he had his original starting lineup he penciled in for opening day maybe 4 or 5 times the entire season because of injuries and guys being bounced from here to there, at AAA, then back up for a week, then back down again. This guy goes in the DL. This guy comes off the DL. This guy's got arm problems. There are all sorts of injuries the ball club had, and to still come away with the 97 wins, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, they weren't driven along by anyone, right? I mean, it was you and I talked in May, Johnny, and they were going to the playoff. I mean, no one was going to go catch them, and that's always a difficult thing. When you're 4 months waiting for game one, the whole Strasburg thing was bizarre. The weather. I mean, every year there's something weird that goes on that transpires during the postseason for the Nationals. I thought the weather played a factor in the start. It played into their hands. It was sitting there. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that, right?
Well, it was not even. It wasn't even baseball weather. You go to Chicago and you're playing in the fog, you're playing in the drizzle, you're playing in the rain. You come here, you got the same kind of cold conditions. You play all season long in ideal baseball conditions. The sun is out. It's 85. It's 90 degrees. People are in shirt sleeves. You're having a great time at the ballpark. Then you get the postseason and you don't know what the heck you're going to expect. It's too bad baseball can't do something about that. I don't remember, growing up as a kid, watching the Yankees, watching the Dodgers, and watching all these other teams that went to the World Series, the weather being as bad as it's been these last couple of years. And you don't want to play baseball when it's 40 degrees out there and 35 degrees. The guys can't feel the bat. Their hands become tingly. Every time you hit the ball, it's just going to be a stinging feeling. And the infield is soggy. It's just not good baseball conditions. But you got to do it. So, the Strasburg thing was bizarre, to say the very least. Everybody sits back and says, wait a minute. This is the biggest game of this guy's career, the biggest game, and he's not going to pitch? If it's Max Scherzer in a situation like that, he's going to say, I don't care. If I'm in the bed with a flu, I'm coming out of the bed, I'm pitching the game, then I'm going to go back and have some fluids and be back and get some rest. But nobody can understand that, and I think certainly either Steven came to his senses, because he's not that kind of a guy, believe me, and he came to his senses knowing if I don't pitch this game, then I lose everybody in that clubhouse. I don't have a friend. Nobody's going to look me right in the eye. They're going to avoid me like I got the flu, which allegedly he did. And luckily he did come out and he pitched one of the best games of his career. But it was amazing the way the whole thing transpired, and this person didn't know about it, and these people didn't know about it, and this guy had this excuse, and the PR, it was kind of like off the wall. But still, he came out, he just pitched his heart out, and it was, good enough for that game. And then I was kind of surprised they brought in Max Scherzer in that Thursday game. I wouldn't have done that. I'm not the manager, but I probably would have gone to Tanner Roark, who didn't pitch one single inning in the playoffs.
Well, I think there's always questions when you lose. We're still talking about Buck Showalter having Britton on the bench, and, Madden got questioned this week.
Yeah. And you're probably talking about Buck going up to Philadelphia, taking the Philadelphia job.
Well, Mr. Angelos does not allow people out of contracts early, so that's another story altogether. But, and that whole Oriole thing will unfold with Machado, with all the contracts. And for the Orioles, it's a different kind of offseason. There's going to be turmoil and all that, but there was no real season. For the Nationals, they got to sit and pound on this for 6 months. It's very, very tough when you win 98 games and go out. Hey, Francona and the Indians are going to have the same offseason here.
Oh, my God.
It's tough when you're that good, especially, they went on that month-long tear. Hey, if the Dodgers don't win, all the cool stuff they did in the summer doesn't mean anything, right?
Nope, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. But I think on the plus side, there's nothing you can do about it now. It's done. It's finished. People are in the morning session, in the morning mode, and they're going to get over it sooner or later with time. But you just got to look forward to next year and see what he's got coming back. He's got, at least down here, you got the nucleus of a heck of a ball club, maybe even better than this year. You'll have Adam Eaton back. He'll be in left field. I'm not quite so sure what the situation's going to be with Jason Worth. Does he want to, come here and be a role player for another couple of years? Does he want to go somewhere else and be a DH? But you got a good outfield with Eaton at left. You got Taylor in center. You got Bryce Harper in right. Then you look around the infield and no change there at all. You're going to have, Murphy back at second, Turner back at short, Rendon at third, Zimmerman at first. I think they may, I don't know what the catching situation is, whether it's going to be Lobaton catching or all readers behind the plate. You still got a solid staff, at least for the first two guys with Scherzer and Strasburg. And then Gio had his best year since 2012. Then you got young guys like Victor Robles coming up, who was added to the roster. And there's so many good things to look forward to next year. But, as you said, everybody was talking about winning this whole thing back in May. And then you win it by 20 games, and then you have to sit around for, 3 weeks before the playoffs start, and you've already clinched it. And I'd much rather have it come down to the last maybe 10 games of the year to decide who's going to, win the division than I would having a 20-game lead and clinch it as early as they did.
The great Johnny Holiday, the man, the myth, the legend, joining us here. This segment is sponsored by another legendary group at G&A Coney Island Hot Dog, and G&A Restaurant in Highlandtown. My good friend Andy, stop in there and see him. He was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And, of course, you can find them at GNARestaurant.com. Johnny Holiday can be found at Holiday Kid out on Twitter. Of course, the longtime voice of the Maryland Terrapins. Even though we're talking Natitude and Nats and all that offseason, plenty of good baseball here ahead this week and into the World Series. But I want to talk a little college football. This is, you're going to be dedicated to this the next 5 or 6 weeks. I ran into Gary Williams as well as Coach Odom out at the UMBC event last week, and college basketball is right around the corner. But for the football team right now, the loss to Northwestern, we can't keep a quarterback healthy. It's same story with the Minnesota Vikings this week. We play them. Same story for the Ravens, can't keep guys healthy. But when you're on your third quarterback, and then he went down for a period last week, I don't think there's any way you're going to win in the Big Ten or even have sort of a representative efforts out there against the likes of Ohio State when you don't have your guys.
Well, I think hats off to Max Bortenschlager for what he's been able to do, Nestor. He's, the third-string guy who probably didn't expect to play hardly any this year. And all of a sudden here in week number 4, you're tossed in there, and you've got to perform. And you've lost Pigram. Then, of course, you come back and you lose Kasim Hill. Both of these guys are outstanding quarterbacks. And then you're faced with a number 3 guy. I think in his defense, he's doing the best job he can do. He's playing his heart out. They've probably simplified things a little bit for him with the offense. He's got a pretty good arm. He likes to throw the ball. Doesn't like to run that much, although when he's your leading rusher, that's not a good sign, as he's been the last couple of games. But the offensive line has given him good protection. I don't think he's had a turnover yet in the 3 games he's played. And it doesn't get any easier. It was tough to lose to Northwestern the way they lost, a 7-point game late in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, things start to come apart. from here on in, you got 6 games to go. You got 3 home, you got 3 on the road, and of the 6 games, 4 of those are top 25 teams. It'll be a challenge, no question about that. But one word that's vacant from DJ's vocabulary is losing. He doesn't like to lose. He doesn't talk about losing. He will approach this game on Saturday against the number 5 team in the country, Wisconsin, with the same vigor that he did against any other team. And he knows that it's going to be a monumental effort to beat Wisconsin there. And the last time we were up there, they had a pretty good effort against Maryland. They beat us pretty good up there a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
First year in the Big Ten. In fact, they ran all over Maryland that particular day.
Well, that's a tough road game. I mean, even when they're not good on the field, that place is insane, right, Camp Randall?
Yeah, there are 80,000 people there, and the problem they got right now is they're having trouble running the ball. When you have back-to-back games of less than 100 yards rushing, and you've got guys like the running backs that they have in Ty Johnson and Harrison, there's really no way that they should have less than 100 yards rushing. But the other defenses have been pretty darn good. The one bright spot, I think, and everybody's aware of this, has been DJ Moore. I mean, this kid is unbelievable. Career high with 12 catches last week, 210 yards and 2 touchdowns, and everybody focuses on him. He's so good. He's got more receptions than anybody in this football team, and he's only a junior, and he's moving up every single week in the rankings of all-time great receivers in Maryland. But you got to have somebody else, I think, kind of take it by the hands and reins and get out there and get more catches, because I think he's got 40 some odd catches, and the next closest guy is like 18 or something. Yeah, Tavon Jacobs has 18. He's got 44 catches. Jacobs has 18. That's a big spread.
Well, Moore's going to go over 1,000 yards. He's going to be a first-round draft pick, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No question about that.
We could use him. Can we rent him, move him from Madison over to Minneapolis on Sunday? We could probably use him as a wide receiver up here for the Ravens.
I'm sure you could, yeah. No question. If he's free on Sunday, sure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny Holiday is the Holiday Kid, and, of course, the voice of the Maryland Terrapins, not just on the football side where it's going to be a rough effort all the way through here with Wisconsin and then Indiana and Rutgers. We got a game up at Yankee Stadium. That'll be fun. Then there's that 3-headed monster of Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State at the end of the season. But by the time we get there, Johnny, you're going to be hearing the squeak of the hardwoods, and we'll be talking about Turgeon, and we'll be talking about the ladies program down there that I know you're very fond of as well. But the basketball season beckons, right? I mean, it's right around the corner. Every Terp fan should be worked up for this. I think you're returning some players here that we're getting familiar with and guys that we like, quite frankly. We saw last year.
When you get 10 guys coming back, that's a pretty good nucleus too, Nestor, with Bender coming back and Tchaikovsky coming back. You got young Kevin Herter, who's only a sophomore. You got Jackson, who's only a sophomore. Anthony Cowan will be a sophomore. I mean, you've got a lot of firepower, and then the addition of the young guys that have come in with the big kid from down at IMG Academy, that Bruno Fernando. He goes 6'10", 245 pounds. And the kid up there from Baltimore that played at Mount St. Joe's, and you got that Sean Obi that transferred from Duke, and then you've got some guys that played a little bit last year. Deion Wiley played, Jared Nickens played, and Andrew Terrell and Travis Valmont and guys like that. So you've got yourself a real nucleus of a heck of a team, maybe one of the best teams he's had. And when you get 3 starters back like Jackson and Herter and Cowan, that's a pretty good nucleus to work around. And with this kid, Bruno Fernando, who probably will start at center, I'm guessing, as big as he is and as good as he is as a freshman, there is so much to look forward to with Maryland basketball, especially when they play at home, because they don't lose many games at home. And the fan base here has been one of the best, I think, in all of the country, not only the Big Ten, but nationwide. They really support Maryland basketball. And Mark Turgeon has done a great job, 3 consecutive years, going to the NCAA tournament, and this will probably be a 4th, and this may be one of his better teams. And he continues to just recruit like crazy. Everybody all of a sudden wants to come and play for Maryland, and that's a great, great sign.
Johnny, I know, you were around before college football was invented, but this whole, Big Ten thing, this is fun for you, right? Going to Camp Randall. No offense to Wake Forest or, going down to even Florida State or the places that you called games for years and years in the 70s, 80s, 90s. But I don't want to say that it got monotonous to some degree, but there must be something about getting on a plane and going to Austin or going to some places that Maryland, quite frankly, ain't never been to. I mean, I remember the Bo Jackson-Auburn game. We played in the Big House about 30 years ago, went out to Michigan. But these Big Ten games in this environment, even for somebody like you that's been around this a long time, these things do feel big when you get on the road and go and do these things in a way that the ACC never did, football-wise at least, right?
Well, you know what it is also, I think? It's great for the kids. I think that's one of the terrific recruiting tools that DJ uses and Mark Turgeon uses as well, that when you come and you play at the University of Maryland, you've got yourself some great opportunities here once you graduate from this school. There are so many things out there that you can do in Washington and Baltimore, no matter what kind of field you want to go into, whether you want to become a professional in your particular sport or you want to go into the business world. There's no better place to do it than Washington, Baltimore area. And the fact that you're going to be playing at Penn State before 100,000, at Michigan before 100,000, at Camp Randall this Saturday with more than 80,000 people, in Michigan State, Nebraska, and it goes on and on and on. And that's good because in the ACC you had Clemson with 85,000, and nobody was even close to that. But here, it's every single week when you get to conference play, you've got potentially 60, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 people that can watch you on national television. The Big Ten Network covers the entire country, which in the ACC you had a couple of games here or there that got you maybe nationwide coverage, but not all of them. But here you got a chance to be exposed every single week on the Big Ten Network. So there's a lot of pluses there. And for me personally, yeah, I enjoy going to these places. I don't enjoy sometimes the outcome of the games, but I enjoy it. The people are nice, and I think you're getting more acclimated to it, more comfortable with it. I still miss my friends in the ACC. That when you make friends for 35 years,
sure,
it's hard to give them up. But the only drawback that I found was when they made the move to the conference was the Maryland fans. Now you got to fly to see you play. You can drive to Columbus in 8 hours. You go to Rutgers, you go to Penn State. And that's about it.
There's no easy way to get to Iowa or to Lincoln.
No,
trust
you can't.
Me.
Right, you take a train to Iowa and be there in 3 days or whatever. But it's the fans, they'll find a way. And when you've got a winning football team and a winning basketball team, fans will somehow, some way find a way to support you no matter where you go. And that's what's happening, I think, now with Maryland.
Love you, Johnny Holiday. Here's the Holiday Kid out on Twitter and, of course, at jholiday.com. Available for all acting gigs as well, and author of some awesome books and fun stuff. Hey, tell everybody what you're doing with the golf thing, because you always ask about my wife. My wife got a clean bill of health on Friday, so we're doing well now in the aftermath of everything. But I know your grandson is also a survivor, an incredible story, and you wound up sending him to an ACC school, Johnny.
Well, he was down between Maryland and Wake Forest, Nestor, and our grandson Jack Raleigh is down at Wake Forest, and the reason he chose Wake was his brother went there, and I think his brother strong-armed him at lunch one day before he made his decision. He came out of Georgetown Prep. He was the captain of the golf team, and he was a terrific, terrific golfer, as were all of his brothers. One's a senior at Loyola, Nick Raleigh. One is out of Wake Forest. That would be Christopher Raleigh, who's in law school. So all these guys played golf at Georgetown Prep. And his brother said, Wake is a lot like Georgetown Prep. Maryland's way too big. You'll get lost in the shuffle, blah, 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 blah. So he decided to go to Wake Forest, and it's been a good transition for him so far. Our golf tournament benefits a group called Youth Leadership Foundation. It's a bunch of guys, ladies and gentlemen, in the Washington area that help kids who are from single-family homes and maybe struggling in school a little bit, help them with their after-school activities, with their academics, with their arts and crafts, with their sports. Everybody volunteers. And so far, we have raised about $1,400,000.
Wow.
For the Youth Leadership Foundation with our golf tournament. We have it in May or June, and we have one person we recognize as our community champion, and among those we've recognized so far have been Kevin Plank, the founder of Under Armour, Gary Williams, Montgomery County Police Chief Tom Manger. We've honored Mark Lerner, who owns the Nationals. We've honored Morgan Wooten, the great Morgan Wooten from Donatha. And this year we honored Ryan Zimmerman for all he's done for young people. And it's a great golf tournament. We have 33 celebrities. That's all we have, 33 foursomes. Put a celebrity with each foursome, and we give all the money to this Youth Leadership Foundation. And in turn, my wife and I pick out which kids at what schools deserve or need the money the most for scholarships to go to school. So if the kid's in junior high school, this will help them go to Archbishop Carroll. It'll help them go to St. John's. It'll help them to go to Georgetown Visitation. If he's up there in Baltimore, Mount St. Joe's, or Gilman, or whatever school they want to go to, it helps them with their education and with their tuition.
Well, I tell you what, it's helpingkids.org. I'm on the website right now if you want to help Johnny out. Give him a go as well. Yeah, I'm on here seeing all these good-looking celebrities you got here. I can't wait to be talking some basketball with Naki and the Wizards. So I'll be trying to find them in the next couple of weeks, as well as Mark Turgeon and my buddy Bino. And we'll get ready for basketball season as we await Wisconsin this week. And take some time off here, Johnny. Take a little downtime here after this Nationals thing for a few weeks, all right?
Well, you can't do that. You got to keep working. You know, when you're working, when you do something like I do and you do, this is not work. This is fun.
Never did a day of work in my life, Johnny.
We got the greatest job in the world when they win.
Don't tell anybody. Hey, man,
I know.
We'll send everybody out to Holiday Kid. Love you, appreciate you as always. We'll check back in basketball season,
all right,
Johnny.
Nestor, thanks for the time as always, friend. Good to be with you.
The Holiday Kid, he is Johnny Holiday, the man, the myth, the legend. All of that brought to you by our friends at the Compass Point Golf Courses. That's 9010 Fort Smallwood Road down in Pasadena. And, of course, Robert Kennedy joining us here, speaking of college basketball, one of our college basketball insiders. And he will be with us with Buckets and Birds every week. You can learn more about what they do golf-wise at compasspointgolf.com. You can find me out on the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. Big week around here. I'm going into the Dundalk High Hall of Fame on Friday. I want to invite everyone down to Costas about 7 o'clock on Friday night. I'll be wearing my Letterman's jacket, beer, crabs, crab cakes, pit beef, good music, good fun. Nick and Pete and all the guys will be there. Come on down. Even at the Patapsco and the Sparrows Point and the Curly people, I'll let you guys come down. The Catholic High girls are always welcome. You know that. So anybody east side wants to stop by. Homecoming on Friday. I go in the Hall of Fame at 4:30. I say I go in. I don't even know how to say I go in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I got to talk about it because I'm never going to go in another Hall of Fame again. But this is going to be a fun week around here, as well as Minneapolis on Saturday and Sunday. Luke's on the backfields in Owings Mills. We got you covered. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And, of course, if you miss anything at all, you can find us in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. WNST goes wherever you go. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.